Raj, today's video is going to be on the two trunks that I have sitting in front of me here. One is an OEM trunk, the other is a CR trunk. Um, Pretty much what I was trying to do is just make my car look more like a CR. I think it's pretty cool. So I guess in a way, I'm trying to go for an OEM plus kind of thing. CRs are super expensive right now. I'm not going to pay that price for it, but I do like the look of it. So. Um, why I'm doing this, why I have a new trunk is because I don't want to drill into my OEM trunk. That kind of devalues the car. I don't want to, you know, have to replace the trunk, lose a VIN tag, which is very important these days with cars that are becoming more and more, I guess, rare in a way. And people are looking for numbers cars, right? And also, this would make it reversible because I didn't drill into my trunk. And I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but trying to find a trunk that has no spoiler or any holes and in perfect condition is very difficult. So my OEM trunk is just spoilerless, and I want to keep it that way in case I ever want to revert back to stock. I can. And so here I have a OEM CR trunk from Honda, and then I also bought the OEM CR wing from Honda so that everything just fits perfectly. I don't have to mess with aftermarket stuff where sometimes it droops or the fitment's not right, the material's not right. I just don't want to deal with it. It costs a lot more, but you know, only you can see if this is worth it for you or not. But for me, it is. So stay tuned, and I'll kind of show you the process of what I went through and what we're gonna do here. Okay, so on the left side here, I have my CR trunk. On the right side here, this is my OEM trunk. You'll notice that I still have the hinges on here. The reason why I did this is the bolts are painted, and I don't want to take it off and then, you know, all the paint's gonna strip off, and it looks like crap when I put it back on. I don't want it to look like that. So that's why I bought a different pair of hinges here for the CR trunk. So the main differences with the CR trunk is really the reinforcement points, the holes, and then just kind of attachment points for all the other stuff that needs to be on the trunk for it to work with the car, with the new wing, with the added weight, and then the actual functionality of the actual trunk itself. So main differences you'll see is you see 3 holes right here, 3 mounting points on each side. On the OEM trunk it doesn't. The right here by the bumper, you'll notice there's some pegs here, some studs for you to put in another reinforcement. And then the other difference is right here on the top. You'll have 2 places there for the bumpers to live on the new trunk. And I got this trunk painted from a guy that he works for a shop that has a paint meter where it can actually kind of see if your paint is close or not to the original, and they'll make a formulation change between your VIN number, your paint code, and I'd say he got it pretty close. He also paid a lot of attention to detail where he painted the inside and then cleared it as well. The OEM one, there's clear as well, but not in the middle here. So this guy just cleared the whole thing. Having a different trunk painted without blending into panels, it's almost impossible to get 100% match. I'd say like my match is, I don't know, 98%. You can kind of see from certain angles, but you have to really look for it. So one thing I really recommend, especially Silverstone metallic or any metallic paint, is that it's never going to be a match, but the best way to do it is to find a shop that can they have a little meter that can see your paint match a lot better than, you know, someone just mixing it with a code and spraying it, because it's never the same. I had 2 different pieces painted at the same shop at different times, and there was a variation between it. So this is actually the closest that I've ever gotten. So just keep that in mind if you get it painted that way. If you're blending it, it's not really that big of a deal as long as the painter's good. All right, so this is pretty much the hardware that comes with the hardtop guy kit. Whenever you buy a spoiler from him, if you opt it to get all the extra parts with springs and things like that. I separated the stuff that goes directly on the spoiler to the ones that's on the trunk. So I'm showing you the ones on the trunk right now. So the first part that comes with it is this right here. It's going to be the rubber stopper that goes on your trunk. So it's going to be the new one that goes right here. So you have two of those. It's the same part number. Second part right here, this is going to be your bolts. This is going to go to the spoiler. It's going to, where the bolts mount to the spoiler, it's going to go in these holes right here. So these two holes right here and the other two on the other side. And then there's a stud coming out of the actual spoiler itself. So these are nuts for it. So that's the part number. There's two of those as well. So it's going to live right here. You also have the two stiffeners on where it lives right here, and then the other side as well. It's two different part numbers. One's for the left side, one's for the right side. And then the nuts that hold it on together is going to be this right here. So you have four of these. And so since you, when you order the parts from him, from a hardtop guy, pretty much he only gives you the stuff that is extra, that needs to be added, not things that would be on your current trunk already. So I just went ahead and I just ordered some extra stuff as well. So one thing I ordered was this stopper. So this is the original one that would go right here. So I just didn't want to take it out just because these clips are very easy to break and they're fairly cheap, so I just ended up getting them. The stoppers, or I guess the adjusters, the height adjusters, and it's a bumper that goes right here. I got two of those. And then this is going to be the actual bolt for the hinge itself. So it's going to be these guys right here. They are not painted, so hopefully they don't rust. And then I got a new emblem, just because I needed these the white things that go right here that holds it in. And then also these two rubber stoppers on the end. Again, I didn't want to take it out because the white clips are really easy to break whenever you take it out. And this is the part number for it. All right, so the installation of the factory parts are pretty straightforward. So if you grab your bumper out, this goes into here. So what you do is you find the end of it, and then you just start threading it in. And then just twist it in, and now it's on there. You just want to try to count how many lines are on the old one, and then just follow it here. So I had about 2 lines showing, so that's why I'm just gonna set it this way. For this part right here, this is gonna be this right here. All it does is just snaps on. So if I take this here, just put it on here, and then it just snaps on. And then the next thing would be the smaller piece, which is gonna be this one right here. So that snaps on right here. So I'll just do that. Goes right in, and that's it. So these are all the factory parts that's on there. The emblem, when you take it apart, there's going to be 2 white pieces here. You can actually buy these separately, but I was going to make another black chrome emblem. That's why I bought this. But all it does is just snaps in. I'm not going to take off the tape because I'm going to use my black chrome emblem versus this one instead. And so all this does is snaps in, and then now those white pieces will sit in there, like you'll see on this one right here. And then when you take off the emblem, it just stays in there. And so let's do the other one. So now moving on to the CR specific parts. I just grabbed this rubber piece right here, this part number. Keep in mind that these are not perfectly symmetrical. There's a raised edge, and then there's a lower edge, just like the one on the factory one. Your raised edge is going to go closer to the lip of the trunk itself, so make sure you put it in correctly. So it's going to go like this. So you'll see that raised edge is right there on that side. And then you're going to put on this piece right here. So this is this part number. Let's see if it's left or right side. This is definitely not the right side. So this is going to be on that side. And so this one right here. So that's how it's supposed to live. And then you just grab the nuts that goes with it, which is that part number, and tighten this down. So what this is going to do is it's going to sit, there's going to be another piece that's going to be on your actual car itself, so that's going to go against this. So this is why there's an adjustment point here. So I'll tighten this once I have the other piece on the car, but pretty much that's all that's needed here. And then the last thing that I need to do is I just need to attach the trunk latch, and then the keyhole, and then you also have the light, which has 5 nuts on there. And then this thing is ready to go. Alright, so this is going to be the assembly process of the actual spoiler itself. It comes pre-painted. You can get it in black, you can get it in yellow, you can get it in blue, or you can get it in white. Pretty much any CR color. So in my example here, I got a black one just because I think it'll look really good with my Berlina black top. And if I don't like it, I can always just take it off and get it painted. But I kind of like the contrast look, so that's why I'm keeping it this way. The spoiler itself doesn't have this, so what you see here is how it comes from the factory. There's 4 mounting points here, 1 on the side, and then kind of 3 that's on there by itself. And then you have the stiffener that pretty much goes on here like this. So once that's on there, so I have one example already put on. So this will get 4 bolts holding that onto the actual spoiler itself, and then this part right here will go on the car. So this is where the stud will go into that elongated hole on the other side of where the trunk is. And so the part number for this, this is going to be the right side. So the right side is going to be this part number here. I kind of broke the bag. And then this is going to be the left side, which is already attached. And then each part right here, it's split into 2, has its own part number. So the one that's installed already, here's one part number, here's the second part number. The one that you can see the holes on the inside, it'll go on the inside part of your spoiler rather than the outside part. And that's the part number for it. Just keep in mind that the last couple of letters here is what signifies the color of this. And the differences between the different colors is that only this part here gets painted. So if you happen to run in a situation where you can't find the correct one, you can just get any of the left or right ones. Just keep in mind that this would just need to be painted here. And then this side right here is going to be on the outside, where when you're walking towards the car you don't see any screw holes. And that's the part number for that one. Other parts that come with the kit from Hardtop Guy is you're going to get 2 of these. These are going to be on the screw. These are going to be the screws that hold this part right here. And then you're going to get 8 of these. which is this part number here. And that's gonna go here, 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 and then on the other side of the screw here, and then 4 more on the other side. And then these are gonna be your self-tapping screws. So you're gonna get 6 of these, and this is gonna be the part number. And what that does is it screws these 2 halves together. And then as it screws in, it's gonna pretty much tap into these holes here. So I would highly recommend not using a power screwdriver for that, just because you don't want to crack it. And then you want to try to take it off as little as possible. So that's why I'm only taking one side off. So I just tightened everything. I just use hand tools. I don't want to use power tools to over tighten these and potentially break something. So tightened everything here. I couldn't find any torque specs or anything like that. So next thing you want to do, grab your 2 halves right here, the cover, I guess the finishers, and then put them in like this. So you'll notice that it'll cover up your screws. And then, since I only have one hand, let me grab the other piece. That's gonna go right here. And then we'll tighten it up. Okay, so once you have the 2 halves on there, you go ahead and there's 2 snaps right here. So there's one right here that you snap on, and then the other one you snap on right here. And then you want to grab 3 of your screws right here with this part number, and then these screws are going to go in here, and you just tighten them up. And that's pretty much the assembly for the spoiler. It's going to be the same for both sides. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the trunk on the car itself first, before I put on the spoiler, just because it's a lot easier to handle. It's a lot lighter. And then I also want to let my paint dry a little before I put the spoiler on, just because even though it's hard to touch, it still needs to cure 100%. And typically people recommend like 72 hours to a week before you install it in your car. So before you reassemble everything, because then you'll get indentions on that clear coat, and that's going to be permanent. And so I'll show you guys what it looks like after it's done. First thing on the assembly process here is you just want to lay your stiffener on here. And then once you have the stiffener on there, you grab the 3 nuts, put this on here. Okay. And then you tighten those. After you have those in, you grab this part right here. And this is a 8mm. So I put it on this side in, just because it seems like the hole smaller on this side. And then grab your other nut here and tighten this up. So these are the springs. The differences between the OEM ones and the CR ones is the CR ones are a lot thicker. This would probably be around 8mm, while this is about 6mm. The one with the rubber, this is the one that goes the square end on the passenger side, while the one without the rubber insulator, that's the one on the driver's side with the square end. This is going to be the part number for that one. And then this one's going to be a part number for that one. Keep in mind the ones in the bags, those are OEM ones. I'm just putting it, I just swapped them just because I'm about to do the actual swap on the car. So these were the ones that were actually in the bags. I just took them out and so that I can put these up later on. So far, this is what my car looks like. I actually went ahead and put in the new hinges already, and the new springs. Springs are a lot thicker than the normal ones. I highly recommend getting this tool. This tool will help you a lot because I don't see any other way of really doing it without screwing things up without this tool. And so I was able to get the springs on there, and then I also put these in here. So I found some measurements online. The distance between here and here is about 101.7 millimeters. So I just measured it. And then I did the same thing as one of the guys online, where I cut off those little tabs here because I didn't want to drill into here. And then I used some 3M primer. The tape's really sticky, so I think it's going to work out pretty well. And this is going to be the same for the other side. And that's where that new resting plate is going to rest on here whenever the wing gives you downward pressure on your trunk. So I got the trunk installed. I think the hardest thing is to try to find the alignments correctly on the car. You can see that the other side's more space than this side. So, but then the top here, it's about the same on both sides. So something like this pretty much is just a simple tweak of the actual latch itself. So I got the rear adjusted, both sides has the same gap. One thing to keep in mind is that whenever adjusting, I adjusted these screws here first so that I can line up the corners to make sure that you have the right gap. And then whenever your trunk is tilted either one way or the other way, just like what mine was doing before, then most of my adjustments came from here. So what you do is you loosen these, and then there's movement that you can go, you know, right, left, down, or up. So you have to adjust it just right so that whenever you close it, it latches. Because otherwise, if it's too low, you close it, it won't ever latch. If you go too much to the right, then it'll be too close to here, too much to the left, and it'll be too close to here. And then the weird thing about the CR one is, since you got these stiffeners now, now you got an extra thing to adjust, but those would be the last things that I would adjust. That way it doesn't hinder any of your adjustments here. So really, first I would do this, and then second thing I would do this. And then this took me the most adjustments. I probably had to do it like 10 times to get it to where it closes right. And it's hard to close right now just because I don't have the spoiler on there, so the trunk's lighter, and I have the heavy springs. All right, and then now I have the spoiler installed on here. And the ones for this part number here, these are the nuts. They actually go here instead, so not where I pointed out before. So this is just the regular bolts. So the bolts would be this part number here. That'll be for these two, and then that'll be the nut. And after all the adjustments and all that good stuff, finally this thing's on. Looks pretty good. I actually really like the black on black look, and so you can see that everything's closing correctly. Biggest adjustment point was right here. And that's it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.